Somebody bring the mic. Mic.
You want to bring the mic, Jamal?
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabita Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Mr. Bhad Paramahansa, Bhadavadika Acharya, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa, Bhadavadika Acharya, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Okay, I think I've got it queued up correctly. Not quite. Okay. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jai Mudiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bandreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of November 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, text, chapter number 20, Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. Text number 30. Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishveti bhajantim atayat vacha nutantya yadite janositaha katam punakam kadoti mohitaha Mande giram te jagatam vimohinim varam vinishvet bhajantam atayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katham punakam karoti mohitaha Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishvet bhajantam athayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katham punakam karoti mohitaha Mande giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishveti bhajantam athayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katam punakam karoti mohitaha Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishveta bhajantam atayat janutantya yadite janosita vanakaroti maha. Oh, go ahead, Babu. Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vinishveta bhajantam atayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katam punakam karoti mohita Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishveti bhajantam atayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katam punakam karoti mohita Manye giram te jagatam vimohinim vadam vinishveti bhajantam atayat vachanutantya yadite janosita katam punakam karoti mohitaha. Manye, I consider. Giram, words. Te, your. Jagatam, to the material world. Vimohinim, bewildering. Varam, benediction. Vinishva, just accept. Iti, in this way. Bhajantam, unto your devotee. Atha, you spoke. Yet, because. Vacha, by the statements of the Vedas. Nu, certainly. Tantya, by the ropes. Yadi, if. Te, your. Janaha, the people in general. Asitaha, not bound. Katham, how. Punaha, again and again. Karma, fruit of activities. Karoti, perform. Mohitaha, being enamored. So this is Maharaj Prithu replying to Lord Vishnu, who offered him benedictions. My dear Lord, what you have said to your unalloyed devotee is certainly very much bewildering. The allurements you offer in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities, enamored by the results of their actions. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, has said that persons who are very much attached to the fruitive activities of the Vedas, namely Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, oops, that's a misspelling, Kanda, are certainly doomed. In the Vedas, there are three categories of activities known as Karma Kanda, fruitive activities, Jnana Kanda, philosophical research, and Upasana Kanda, worship of different demigods for receiving material benefits. Those who are engaged in Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda are doomed in the sense that everyone is doomed who is entrapped by this material body, whether it is a body of a demigod, a king, a lower animal, or whatever. The sufferings of the threefold miseries of material nature are the same for all. Cultivation of knowledge to understand one's spiritual position is also, to a certain extent, a waste of time. Because the living entity is an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his immediate business is to engage himself in devotional service. Pritha Maharaj therefore says that the allurement of material benedictions is another trap to entangle one in this material world. He therefore frankly tells the Lord that the Lord's offerings of benedictions in the form of material facilities are certainly causes for bewilderment. A pure devotee is not at all interested in bhakti or mukti. The Lord sometimes offers benedictions to the neophyte devotees who have not yet understood that material facilities will not make them happy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord therefore says that a sincere devotee who is not very intelligent may ask some material benefit from the Lord. But the Lord, being omniscient, does not generally give material rewards, but on the contrary, takes away whatever material facilities are being enjoyed by his devotee, so that ultimately the devotee will completely surrender unto him. In other words, the offering of benedictions in the form of material profit is never auspicious for the devotee. The statements of the Vedas, which offer elevation to heavenly planets in exchange for great sacrifices, are simply bewildering. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 2.42, the Lord says, Yamimam pushpitam vacham prapadanta vipashyata. The less intelligent class of men, avipashyataha, attracted by the flowery language of the Vedas, engage in fruitive activities to become materially benefited. Thus, they continue life after life in different bodily forms to search very, very hard. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya. Chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. The disciplic succession. So it's good to remember to take like a long look at the Bhagavatam, from a distance, because we go generally one verse at a time, and sometimes we lose sight of the whole context. So if you go back to the first canto and you read about how the Bhagavatam came to be written, we see that Vyasadeva had written all this other Vedic literature. All of this Karma Kanda section of the Vedas he'd written the Vedanta Sutra, the other Puranas, the Upanishads. All of that had been written, and he was unsatisfied. And so he sat in meditation, and Narada Muni, his spiritual master, came and immediately chastised him. He says, are you thinking, dear Prabhu, that the body and the mind are suitable objects of realization? In other words, what he was saying there, and often devotees forget this, I just realized, and I've read Prabhupada's purport and some other commentary, that when he continues there, the speaking, and he starts these very important verses, beginning Nadyad Vachaschitta Badang Hareyasho, which says that any literature which may be very nicely written materially, but does not glorify the Lord, is simply a place of pilgrimage for crows. And I swear, maybe it was Vishwanath Chakravarti's commentaries, and he says, and he's referring to all the other literature he wrote, that he's saying that it's not worth anything. He's saying having an extreme, example, because after all, the Mahabharata has the Bhagavad Gita in it, and the Padma Purana has a big section about bhakti and so many other things. Then you also find the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. But basically he's saying that until and unless you write a book, your final book, which is wholly and solely glorifying the Supreme Absolute Truth, personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his devotional service, his devotees, his incarnations, then you'll be dissatisfied. That's your problem. So that's the whole thrust of this book. And even though we read parts of the Bhagavatam that we may not even understand how this fits into bhakti, like there's this whole section in the 5th canto where it's this long description of the structure of the universe, but it all fits in. In other words, eventually it comes back down to the instruction that devotional service is the ultimate goal of life, and Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and becoming fully absorbed in his name, form, qualities, and pastimes is really what we should strive for. Did you want to convey a message to someone, Prabhu? Okay. Yeah, you had to ask him something. Okay. So now let's see this passage in that context. You recall what happened. King Prithu, I won't go into the whole way in which he appeared, quite amazingly, from being churned by the arms of Vena. That's an amazing story. But then he appeared, he's practically on the level of Krishna. In fact, he's referred to as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it's defined, he's a Shaktivesh. But there's Shaktivesh and there's Shaktivesh. Some Shaktiveshas are super empowered, as he is, and some are normally empowered. So, in any case, he immediately takes up his duty, which is to protect the people and to see that they're nourished and, protection, caring about the people of the country. We don't get much example of that in today's leaders, but you understand. That's really what a Kshatriya is meant to do. So, then comes this whole pastime with the earth, which has been withholding the grains and other necessities because the people had become very sinful with Vena, sin personified, as the king. So it was a big mess. And they become emaciated because there were no grains. So this is a serious problem. And so he threatened the earth to give the grains. She tried to explain what's going on, and then finally she said, okay, here's the plan, look. You get everybody to, all these different elements, these different categories of beings who are starving and don't have their necessities, and they need to create a calf. I'll be the cow. That's why I often take the position of a cow. And that calf will then induce me to give them their necessities. And so there's a whole series of verses, and everybody gets the necessities. The demons come. We just read, actually. In Phoenix, they're in the same part of the Bhagavatam, just a few chapters before. So I was rereading the part that I missed because I was on another trip to Washington, and when you read it here, you went through real fast, where one of the demons and the Rakshasas come, the Asuras, and they make an iron pot, and they get all these horrible liquids, these beverages made from fermented blood. You remember that? I wasn't here when you read that. You probably read through it real quick, but you must have read it. Anyway, so everybody's getting what they need. Oh, yeah, that was the beer and wine one. Yeah. So anyway, then there was another group. Right. And they're pulled into a cow, into a calf. Who knows how this is actually going on? I don't know if you were here for some of these classes. You read before the piano. So the point is that everybody's getting what they need. The Vijataras get the ability to dance, to sing and dance. The Gandharvas to dance like that. So then when it's all done, Prithu is very happy with the earth now. He's completely changed his attitude because it all worked out and now everything is popping. So then comes this whole thing where he wants to offer these sacrifices, 100 sacrifices, for the benefit of the people. So, the story. He gets through 99 of them. Indra becomes envious. That's his pastime. He's always worried about his position. And so he disguises himself as a sannyasi, and he steals the 100th horse. Now, what I remember is that Prithu's son first goes after him, right? And he has to be warned off. And Prithu is very anxious to kill him. And so, was it Brahma comes down and then Vishnu comes down? I think to cool him out. So then this important instruction from Vishnu. And basically he says 99 is fine. You don't have to get the 100th one. Don't be so obsessed. And so then he instructs him in transcendental knowledge. And he offers him a benediction. And this is Prithu's response to being offered a benediction. But he said, just like Nisringadev, you can have whatever you want, he said to Prahlad. Now you've much pleased me by your 99 sacrifices, and you're refraining from attacking Indra. So now whatever you want, you can have. So that's what he's complaining about in this verse. He's saying, you have said to your online devotee, that's me. It's imaginary. It's very much bewildering. The allurements you offer in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities. So this is he's saying that similar to what Narada said to Vyasadeva. What's the need for all these other parts of the Vedas? It just bewilders people. But the point is that they want that. The pure devotee doesn't want that. Lord Chaitanya's taught us, nadanang nadanang nasundarim. I'm praying to you, Lord, but I'm not praying for wealth. I'm not praying for followers. I'm not praying for a nice spouse. I'm not praying for anything material. I'm not even praying for liberation. Janmani Janmani means that I'm ready to take birth after birth. Then what do we pray for? What do we really want from the Lord? And this is everything. Because one can easily approach God or the gods, as will be explained in the purport, for material benefit. And if your faith is strong and you say the right mantras and you're sincere, you may very well get that. But what's the end result? Antavattu palam tesham taddabalti alpamadisam. Only the fools, alpamadisam, those who aren't very bright, they have great faith in the demigods and they worship them and they may get their benefits or some benefits, but they're temporary. Alpamadim, not very intelligent. Antavat. We want an eternal benefit. We're eternal beings. Any benefit, anything that we think is good that's temporary is actually bad for us because it induces us to try to enjoy in this world and to think that there's a reason to stay here. Unless we have a very jaundiced view of any kind of material pleasure, then we're going to come back to try to enjoy that pleasure. You see what I'm saying? So the whole, this is why it's a pilgrimage of crows. They're taking pleasure in these dirty things which are just keeping them in the mode of ignorance. So the devotee, the genuine devotee who is following the theme and the mood of the Bhagavatam, don't forget, second verse, Dharma projitakaitavotra. Here in the Bhagavatam, that word tra means here, we're kicking out all cheating religion, cheating Dharma. Now the next question is, okay, what's a cheating Dharma? What's real Dharma? And that comes up right away in the questions of the sages. What is that Dharma by which the soul can be completely satisfied? Supersedity, which implies eternally. Because the soul is temporarily satisfied, we have experience of that. It's not satisfying. It's binding. It ultimately causes great anxiety. Anything material happiness. Krishna says that happiness, yesam sparjaja bhoga, dukkha yona evate, is the cause of our misery. So let's refer to now this part of the Bhagavad Gita. I remember these verses Prabhupada refers to by this one line, Yamimam pushpitam vacham papadancha vipashada, is between two other very important verses. So the verse before this verse is Vyavasayatmaka buddhir ekeha korunandana bahushaka yanantascha buddhayo vivasayanam. Now devotees in ISKCON should definitely know this verse because Prabhupada really put great stress on the verse and the purport of the verse. What this verse says, Vyavasayatmaka buddhi, is the one-pointed fixed intelligence for performing devotional service. This is what we want to try to attain. In other words, that's the Nishta platform. There's no longer any doubt. You're determined to follow the path. You know, you're absolutely convinced Krishna is God, and the way to know him is bhakti, and you're going to follow that path. You may not be a pure devotee yet. This is every morning before every time I give class, we recite this verse: Nashta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagawatsaptaha. That state that he describes there, nashta prayeshu means almost destroyed. The abhadras in the heart, the impurities in the heart that are keeping us bound here birth after birth. Krishna is purifying them when we sincerely hear his glories, his holy name, form, qualities in the association of devotees. Purification is taking place. When Prabhupada says 70-80% of purification is there, not 100%. Prayeshu means almost all, not all. When that stage is reached, then that's the thing. What is that phrase that Prabhupada uses? Irrevocable devotional service, right? Then it becomes irrevocable. Means that you're not going away. You're not stopping it. You're so convinced by your own experience. Your faith, of course, is in Krishna. You don't have full experience of Krishna yet, but you have some experience. You've somewhat purified, and you're determined. So that Nishta platform is characterized, is described in the 2nd chapter, 1st canto, as the modes of nature are transcended. You're fixed in the mode of goodness, and you're beginning to experience the mode of pure goodness. And that helps you to be in the mode of goodness, helps you to be very firmly fixed in your devotional service. So that's Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi. Now in the purport, in the comments of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, now we should always remember that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladeva Vijayabhushan are very closely aligned in the form of the guru and the disciple. The Vishwanath Chakravarti is Baladev's guru, spiritual master, and Prabhupada relied heavily on Baladev's commentary for his comments in Bhagavad Gita. So much so that he dedicated the book to Baladev. You look in the very first couple of pages of the book. So, but Prabhupada here refers to Vishwanath Chakravarti, who has a whole series of comments on Bhagavad Gita. I can give it to you if you want. It's translated by Bhanuswami. So he says that this Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi is confirmed, or the essence of it is to take the order of the spiritual master as one's life and soul. To accept the spiritual master's order as one's life and soul. And Srila Prabhupada showed that in spades. He alone amongst his disciples, Bhaktisiddhanta gave it to all his disciples. He should preach and spread it widely. He even sent a whole team to London. Unlike Prabhupada, it was backed with plenty of money. There was whatever they needed. But they couldn't do anything in London. And they came back. So Prabhupada famously, do or die. In India he was trying to do it. League of Devotees, publishing the English, BTG, he was told to preach in English. But he couldn't get any traction there because everyone knew about Krishna. We know about Krishna, So he came to America, you know the story. So that's Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi Ekaya one-pointed, determination. Ekeha kudan bahushaka inantascha buddhaya vyavasaya. Those who don't have this one-pointed determination, their intelligence is many-branched. They go off in different directions. They don't have that fixed determination. Now, how does that happen? Then comes this verse. Yamimam pushpitam vacham papadantya vipachita veda vararata apata nanyanasti divana varana kamatmana svarga para janma karma palapadam kriyavisheshu bahalam bogaishraya gatim pati. Now, these verses aren't normally quoted. I happened to memorize it long ago. But they're very illuminating. First, he says the flowery words of the Vedas. You see? That this is the Karmakanda section. The description of the heavenly planets. You even find some of that in the Bhagavatam. But there's always the injunction, don't go there, don't aspire to go there. And there's various stories as to the problems that go on in the heavenly planets. All of the demigods were evicted by the demons when they became so powerful. Indra had insulted Brihaspati, the spiritual master, and they became weak, and the demons became strong, led by Bali, who's a devotee in the guise of a demon, and then, he's a grandson of Prahlad. So he's a great devotee, but anyway, that's another story. So in other words, even if you're in the heavenly planets with all of this wonderful sense gratification for millions of years, it's still temporary, and there's still these rivals, so you're not, the demons are out there, and they sometimes take over. So you can't be happy there. But if you're here in this hellish world, that sounds like a real goal that you can aspire for. So, flowery words of the Vedas. If you want it, then they'll supply the means of doing it. Worship this god, worship Indra, perform this sacrifice, hire these Brahmins, do these mantras, So that's karma kanda, which is spoken of as a pot of poison, I think, in one song. Jnana kama, karma kanda are simply pots of poison in the Vedas. And so, pravadantya vipashtata, the so-called learned scholars in the Vedas say this. They say there's nothing but this. This is the real essence of the Vedas. But the Vedavada rata, this is an important little idiom in Sanskrit. Rata simply means skilled in something or well-versed. So you would think, they're well-versed in the Vedas. But this Vedavada rata means that they're so-called skilled. They seem to be skilled, but they're not really. They don't understand the essence of the Vedas. This phrase appears twice in the Ishopanishad also, in terms of those who have so-called knowledge and those who are so-called worshipping the Lord, but they're actually impersonalists or demigod worshipping. So Krishna is condemning this. He's bringing us to the point of pure devotion. Surrender only unto me, this eka. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Here's your real dharma. Give up all this other so-called dharma and just do this one thing. Surrender only unto me. I'll protect you from all your sinful reactions, which is what keeps us coming back again and again. Do not fear. Everything will be provided. This is the gateway to the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam begins at that point, really. So the verse after this is I always thought is very significant also, because this is a warning to us. Bhogaishaya prasaktanam taya parita chetisan vyavasayatmaka buddhi ekeha kudanandana. Remember, in the vyavasayatmaka buddhi verse, Prabhupada emphasizes we have to come to this point. Just so we have to come to the point of nishta, firm faith, which is defined by Lord Chaitanya, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudadhanastroy Krishna Bhakti Kole Sarva Karma Katahoy. That's the description of nishta. The definition of faith, really firm faith, nishta, is Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudadhanastroy. Means unshakable conviction that what? That just by practicing the practices and principles of devotional service, all my aspirations will be fulfilled. Even keeping body and soul together and doing what we have to do to live in this world, they can be done in a Krishna conscious way, like eating. I mean, you can just go, eat and just, entangle yourself more in this world, or you can learn how to, cook nice vegetarian dishes, offer them to Krishna, and it becomes a loving exchange. It's purifying. You can do, everything that way. Our lives have to be more and more Krishnized. Prabhupada created this word. They made it Krishnized in the book, but I don't agree with that. I like Krishnized, which is what Prabhupada said. So our whole life has to become Krishnized. Yeah. That was an editorial decision, which I'm not going to change, but for the internal crowd, Krishnized. I love it. So, but here he's warning us, Bhogaishaya pasaktanam. Now this verse is very pertinent for us also, because even in the course of our devotional career, we can get deviated by the inducements of material enjoyment and money. Bhogaishaya pasaktanam, becoming too attached. This prefix is important to watch for. Sakta means to be attached. Prasakta means very attached. And who are bewildered by such things. Taya apidita chetasan, which steal away your intelligence. Then you can't get the vyavasayatmaka buddhi. Your mind will remain many-branched. Vyavasayatmaka, ekeha kurunandana. They don't attain this. So this section is very pertinent here. Now what Prithu is saying here, he's rejecting the material benedictions. I think he's already asked for the benedictions. He wants 1 million ears so we can hear better all of the Krishna Katha. And what else did he want? The association of devotees. In other words, he wants the proper benedictions. Now you find this throughout Dhruva. Now Dhruva is in a whole story. I won't get into the story, but he's amazing. Another child, the pure devotee like Prahlad. A little different arc of his devotion. But it's interesting because he started, unlike Prahlad was a pure devotee from in the womb. So he never had any material attachments. But Dhruva was a prince. He was like at the beginning of the universe, beginning of Satya Yuga, the son of Uttanapada. And his father, was a devotee, did everything, but he had this queen he had two queens, and one of them was Suruchi, one is Suniti. Watch out for the names. The names tell you a lot, Suruchi means hot, what we call hot, She's very beautiful. Suniti means extremely virtuous. So the king was more attracted to the Suruchi at this point than the Suniti. Suniti had a place in the palace, but it was in the corner, somewhere. And Suruchi was there with the king in the inner chambers, or the main where the throne was, and her son was playing on the lap of the king. Now her son was the younger son, I think. So actually, Dhruva, 5-year-old, he wanted to get on the lap and play with his brother and the king. What's wrong with that? But Suruchi forbade him. You can't get on the lap, because she didn't want the king. She wanted the king to favor her own son, so that he would get the kingdom. Until you take birth from my womb. In other words, he insulted her, and King Uttanapada was so henpecked he didn't say anything. That was the big thing that happened. So Dhruva became angry. He's a Kshatriya, even at 5 years old. He's been insulted. So he wants to go out, he wants to do something, he doesn't know what to do, so he goes to his real mother. And this is also the early part of this canon. And she says, what can I do? Your father is favoring my co-wife now. But you have to, but actually Suniti told him, Suruchi told him, you have to search out God, you have to get God's grace, So Suruchi said, she was right, you need to find God. And Prabhupada added, it's not there in the Bhagavatam, that you have to find God, and I've heard from sages that they find him in the forest, So off he goes, traipses into the forest, a little 5-year-old boy that lived in the forest. It's like, so Narada Muni sees, and he comes and he tests him. He says, look, you're only 5 years old, Go back home, and when you're old enough, I'll teach you yoga. You'll be able to achieve your goal. You'll find God. So Dhruva says, thank you very much, O sage, but I can't wait, So he starts off again. So Narada says, all right. So he teaches him a process of very austere yoga, but it's infused with bhakti. First of all, you stand, and you chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So right away he's chanting the holy name. And then he even gave him a rudimentary deity worship, because he sent him to, it's Vrindavan, isn't it? Next to the Yamuna. You make some mud, take some mud, and make a little murti of Krishna. You can worship that. This is authorized. So he had the deity worship, he had the meditation, he's praying. And, but of course, at first, it was all because he wanted the kingdom. He wanted his position as the kingdom. But by chanting, he became completely purified. So after 6 months, he became so strong. He stopped eating. He was first eating the fruits that fell, then he was eating the leaf, then he stopped that, he's just breathing. Then he slows his breathing down, and he was so strong, he entrained the universal breathing, so the demigods couldn't breathe properly, so they appealed to Vishnu, please do something. So he comes down on his Garuda, and he appears before Dhruva. He's meditating on him, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Suddenly he opens his eyes, and he's right there, and he goes into complete ecstasy, falls down, it's wonderful. Then he offers prayers. What's he going to pray for? So there's a bunch of prayers, but the one that I eventually remembered, there's one that I memorized, and another one that Prabhupada would always quote. It's not in the Bhagavatam, it's quoted elsewhere. And he says, Stana bilashi tapasistitoham pram paptavan deva munindra guyam. Kacham vichinvan, thank you. Kacham vichinvan abhidivyaratnam swaman katatosmi paranmayache. That last line probably would always quote. So it's Stana Bilashi. I was longing for a position, namely my father's kingdom. And therefore I was situated in extreme tapasya. Stana Bilashi tapasi stitoham. But now I've attained you, my Lord. His Vishnu standing there, darshan, is highly coveted. So I realized what I was looking for, the kingdom of the whole earth or whatever it was like a piece of broken glass compared to the divine jewel of your darshan, Divyaratnam. So my dear Lord, Swaman Kratasmi, my master, I don't want anything else. I'm not praying to you for any benediction. This is benediction enough, just seeing it. And that's the same mood as we see here with King Prithu in his other... and so now he's complaining a little bit, just like Prahlad complained to Nrsingadev. He said, you can have whatever you want. Take whatever you want. And so Prahlad says, why are you offering me material benedictions? I'm not doing business with you, Vanik. I'm not some merchant, But if you do want to offer me a benediction, okay, because he realizes that Nrsingadev wants to offer him something. So he doesn't want to disappoint him, but he has to ask for the right thing. Now the question is, what do you pray for? That's everything. So you know what he asked for at first? There's two things. The first one, not as famous, is Yadi dasasi me kamam varangstong varadarshaba kamam naroham varadarshaba. I forget the Sanskrit, I'm getting old. But he says, if you want to offer me a really desirable benediction, then here's my prayer, that no material desire will ever take root in my heart. Oh, best of the benedictors, There'll be no possibility of any material desire. And then the other benediction he asked is that you save my poor father, who is the biggest demon, Hiranyakashipu, who had just been killed. And he says, don't worry, I think it was 21 generations before and 21 generations I've delivered just by your pure devotion. So, and then what does Dhruva pray for in the Bhagavatam? Bhakti moho pavahatam trahime pasango bhuyadananda mahatama malashayanam neshe babad Jainan jasobadamaru vasanam bababdim neshe baban kunakatam atapana matta. Okay, I haven't forgot that one yet. So he wanted association with those pure devotees in whose heart the pure devotion is flowing like a powerful river. He uses this word. Because by their association, I will easily cross over this ocean of birth and death. I'll never forget this phrase, which is full of blazing fire-like dangers. And how will I cross over? Because I'm becoming mad to drink the nectar of talks about you, which I will always hear in the association of the pure devotees. That's his prayer, similar to this prayer where he wanted 1,000,000 years to just hear the nectar. So this lesson for us, he's saying they're bound by the sweet words of the Vedas. So what happens is that Krishna presents this is part of Maya. Even though it's part of the Vedas, they're offering material emolument, benedictions, or there's also interpretation you can interpret for impersonal liberation. These are said to be like two witches. As long as these two witches are dancing in the heart, you can get pure devotion. And he also, Prabhupada refers to this verse by Lord Chaitanya, a pure devotee is not interested in bhakti or mukti. So this is a verse where who gets peace? Who can really have peace? Only the devotee can have peace, because only the devotee can be completely free of any material desire. It's right in the Bhagavad Gita. He goes through this whole thing at the end of the 2nd chapter about peace. How can there be happiness without any peace? And he says, so the thing is summed up in this one verse. Vihaya kama nyaksavan pumam charati nixpaha nirmamal nadahankara sashanti madigachati. Shantam is peace. So one who gives up all material desire and lives free of desire and has no false ego, nirmamal nadahankara, and no sense of separate proprietorship of anything, that person alone can have peace. So the only person who can attain that state is the devotee whose heart is always filled with the ecstasy of serving the Lord's lotus feet. Then there's no question of any material desire entering in. You see that? So that's the Lord Chaitanya's verses, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateheva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. So there's basically 4 categories of human beings in this world. There's the bhukti kamis, 99.9999% of the people, who are very, very ardently desiring material sense gratification, both gross and subtle. Your senses can be, quieted except for your eyes and your ears, and you're completely absorbed in the video game or the movie, and it's all going on inside. It's your mind, basically, that's getting all this, but it's still gross in the in the deepest sense gratification. So that's bhukti kami. A kami is one who longs for something, who is very passionate about some enjoyment. So those who are a little bit smarter, who are aware of the Vedic teachings to some degree, they become mukti kamis. They want liberation, which makes sense. because this world is a world of birth and death and misery. So let me get mukti, you see. But he gives it the designation kami. In other words, it's a kind of material desire. Just to want one's own freedom from misery, from pain, and not care about anyone else, it's a sign of a very hard and selfish heart, even though it's on the level of liberation. And the fact of the matter is that you can't really attain liberation that way. If all you want is, because that means there's no bhakti there. It's impersonal. Let me perform severe austerities, transcend, become to the Brahma platform. I'm Brahman, I'll merge into the Brahman. Freedom from birth and death, freedom from the threefold miseries. That's what I want, you know. I. It's kind of an ego thing. And the Bhagavatam was, you can't stay there. You can't remain there because it's unnatural. You eventually come down again and engage in some kind of, maybe a high-grade sense gratification, helping people, but it's material. And then there's the siddhi kamis, the yogis who practice yoga very austerely, but their goal really isn't bhakti, you know, or it may start out somewhat, you know, super soul, but then when they get those siddhis, they attract their mind. Just imagine if you could reach out and get anything you wanted, or control anybody, you know. That's why you find these yogis with the little powers. What do? They come to the West, and they exploit those powers, and they become famous and rich, and they exploit their female students and everything. It's horrible. It's not yoga. It's just a type of bhoga. So none of them can really be peaceful, because they have the material desire, which is always, it can never be fulfilled. But Krishna Bhakta, nishkama ateva shanta, because they have no kama. Kama is personal desire. Again, we refer to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 4, kama and prema. He says they're like two metals. One is gold, one is iron. They're similar in that they're metals, but there's a world of difference. What is it? Atmandriya piti vancha, tade bali kam. Krishnendriya piti icha, tade prem nam. This is an important verse in the 4th chapter. It says, the desire to satisfy one's own senses, which include the mind, is kama. And the desire to satisfy Krishna's senses is prema. So we have to transfer our material desires and propensities to Krishna. The very same senses in mind and intelligence, which we learn in chapter 3, the kama takes over and covers your knowledge. You know, those same senses, mind and intelligence, have to be engaged in Krishna bhakti. That's why Prabhupada says that, which is pretty startling here, that even the culture of knowledge can be a deviation. If that culture of knowledge is really leading you toward impersonalism or something. You know, I mean, hearing Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita, that's a culture of knowledge. But it's part of our bhakti sadhana. And that's not all we do, you know. Then there's always active service. This is chanting. You know, you can't say that chanting Hare Krishna is really a cultivation of knowledge. Knowledge may come automatically, but it's bhakti sadhana practice. So that's what Prabhupada is saying here. One has to engage himself in bhakti rather than just, you know, the impersonalists, the Mayavadis. That's what they do. They just study the Vedanta Sutra. Can you imagine studying the Vedanta Sutra with the impersonalist commentary of Shankaracharya all the time? How dry would that be? No kirtan, no Radha Giridhari, no prasadam, no festivals. It's all Maya. It's all Maya. I remember one guy came to a temple once in Brooklyn, and he was taking prasadam, and he says, it's all Maya. You know, even while he's taking prasadam. I said, who is this guy? You know what? Anyway, this is very important instruction for us here. Basically, it's an expansion on the Shikshastic verses, you know, Nadanang Sundarim. What do we pray for? What do we aspire for? And you realize the morning program is inducing us to aspire for the right things. What the Tulsi prayer? It's all a prayer, you know. Please give me the privilege of devotional service. You know, my desire is to have so I can always see Radha and Krishna's Leela. Please let me become your maidservant, you know, like that. So the word asha appears several times in that prayer. And that's really the key. What do we long for? What do we aspire for? And we realize when you come to Krishna consciousness and you read the books, we've been longing for the wrong things. That's why we're frustrated and unhappy. Just look at this crazy world we live in, you know. I mean, people, if they can make a decent living and have, whatever they have, then they feel like they're satisfied. Of course, eventually that becomes self-defeating. But even that's not possible now. Because the guys at the top, the demons who run everything, they want all the money, as much money as possible. So that means that the whole middle class is now in distress. The jobs aren't there. They've undermined the labor movement, the unions, the so-called Social Security. It's all illusion. But even that illusion is being destroyed. So it's great, people long like anything to have some economic security, which we know is the wrong thing to long for. But even that is impossible. So it's just a world of more and more anxiety and distress. That's what this material world is. So what do we strive for in our life? Live as simply as possible, right? In other words, I was just reading in one of the places I was at. We were studying the verse Kamasin Indriya Pritir Labho Jivete Yavata Jivasa Tattva Jigyasa Noto Yashchaya Karmabi. I often think this is the second chapter, first canto. It's right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. And I was thinking the sages, or Shukadeva Goswami and Vyasadeva wrote, said these Kali Yugites, they're not going to be able to read 18,000 verses. So I'll write them for those few who can, but right at the beginning I'll give a whole lesson that if they just understand these 20 verses, they'll go back to God, especially with Prabhupada's commentary. So here he's saying, Kamasin Indriya Pritir, don't strive for sense gratification. Kama, Indriya Priti is exactly translated as sense gratification. That your life's desire should not be aimed to fulfilling those sense desires. And what should it be for? Well, okay, how do I live? Kamasin Indriya Priti, labho jivete yavata. Aspire to have that much that you just need to keep body and soul together. In other words, minimal for the material side. Clothes, food, domicile, whatever it is. Yes, you should be comfortable, but don't exaggerate it, because that's just complete illusion. So then what should I use my life energy for? Jivasya tattva jigyasa. One should live in order to inquire into the absolute truth. This is exactly what it says in the Vedanta Sutra. Atato brahma jigyasa. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Notice the same word is used. That human life is rare because we have this higher intelligence, and it should be used to make a solution to all the problems of life by inquiring into the absolute truth. Now what that absolute truth is, the whole Bhagavatam explains. It's Krishna. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what we need to inquire about and build the relationship, or revive the relationship that we lost. It's not gone, but it's forgotten. Narto yashchaya karmabhi. He ends the verse with, nothing else should be the goal of our works. Now the next question is, well, what is it? And so the next answers. Vijay, chant with me. Padanti tattavidas tattvam yagyanamad brahmeti padamatmeti bhagavaniti shabhyate. This absolute truth is understood in three levels. As Brahman, that's the undifferentiated, nirvishesh, bright light, the effulgence, which is explained as Krishna, the effulgence of Krishna's body, really. And then this super soul, which is expansion of Krishna, plenary in everyone's heart and every atom. And ultimately as Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have to inquire, what are these and how can we know them? And the verses go on. But that's, the injunction. And it's exactly related to this passage and to Lord Chaitanya's prayers. Don't get deviated. Even in bhakti, you can mix in the karma. You can mix in the material desire. Karma mishra bhakti. Jnana mishra bhakti. Too much desire for liberation. That I'm desiring that. Ultimately, the desire is to be purified until we come to this stage. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going over time. Anyabilashita shunyam. That word ashita, you got asha. Anyabilashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavatam. It's the same thing. Just don't practice bhakti for this purpose. Jnana, liberation, karma, material thing, which covers it. It pollutes it. It distorts what real bhakti is. Jnana karma jnanavatam. Then what should we do? What should be our aspiration? Anukurena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. This is the whole purpose of this movement of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. That simply to cultivate this bhakti, whose only motive is to please Krishna. And that includes his devotees and going out in Sankirtan and everything. That's most pleasing to Krishna. You know, in other words, that's why it gives you bliss and satisfaction and peace. But it requires introspection, not letting material desires enter in, and not, you know, all of these things, and keeping it pure, and embracing austerities when they come, because austerities for the purpose of practicing, you know, for preaching mostly, that's where they come from, you know. So there's a lot here, and this Bhagavatam always comes back to this theme, pure devotion, and we're hearing it right now. I'm sorry, I went over time. Any comments or questions quickly? Yes? I'll repeat it. Uh-huh. It all comes back to association. You know, that Prabhupada gave his association and trying to strengthen the faith in him, faith in Krishna, and faith in the process. You know, there's different aspects of that faith. Sometimes you believe in God, you believe in Krishna, and you revere, you know, Prabhupada and the spiritual masters, but you don't have faith that you can do it. But this is a sign of lacking faith in Krishna, that he can't empower you to do it, that you can come over the obstacles. This is a kind of Maya's trick, because the result of that faith is, well, I'm not strong enough to practice this. But then the result is you become uncomfortable amongst the devotees, you know. And as soon as you can't come into the association of devotees, then Maya's got you, because she's too strong. We can't do it on our own. So the faith is strengthened. You know, it's almost like a trite phrase, but it's really true, by the association of the faithful. Then you know, you're inspired. Well, they're not that much different from me, you know, and they're practicing, and they can give you, you know, impart into you enthusiasm to perform kirtan and so forth, and from that you get spiritual strength from within the heart. So this faithlessness, these doubts, which, you know, that's another way of saying lack of faith, that's a disease. You know, Krishna says at the end, cast away all these doubts, Arjuna, get up and fight, you know, get free from doubt. Because that was Arjuna at the beginning. He was doubting the wisdom of the whole battle. You know, I'm going to kill all these, there's going to be a big bloodbath here, and these are my friends, you know. What's the percentage? There's no percentage materially, but it's 100% because Krishna wants it. And the ultimate goal is for the benefit of everybody. You know, the reinstitution of Dharma in the person of Yudhishthira, and everybody gets killed, goes, I mean, some say they go completely back to Godhead because Krishna is there, but they definitely benefit, you know. So it really is auspicious. But to the jaundiced eye, when he's affected by material, you know, relation, then he has all these arguments come up, you know, pushpitam vacham, these flowery words. So there's all kinds of ways that Maya can trick us into doubting, into losing faith in the process. So therefore we have to come up to this is where the regulations come in. Whether I feel enlivened or not, I'm going. I'm going to, or I'm going to sit down and chant my rounds. I've taken a vow. I'm going to chant 5 rounds a day, or whatever it may be. I'm not going to let that go, you know, because if the doubts get too strong and they reach into, you know, I can't do it, then you become slack and sadhana. Then you're easy prey for Maya. So it's a regulation. You get into the habit. The Maya knows, you know, 45 years getting up for Mangalarti. I can't sleep through it, you know. There's no way I can sleep through it. So it's good association and getting firm in your sadhana. Then you won't be assailed so much by his doubts. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.